Welcome all to this fine screening session, subtitled Tricks of the Trade. My name is Roy Roche. I'm the Vice President, Screening Media, Global for Multitech. What we'll be discussing and looking over today is Multitech's experience and competencies, how we define fines in the mining industry, the types of fine screening. It's a bit of a repetition of what Francois Fichet did, but it's necessary. Fine screening media panel types, which are critical, deck maps and the importance thereof, some process examples that are fairly important, and our global capability. In terms of our experience and competence, spread across 5 continents globally, we have 324 years of screening specialist experience. On the actual screening media sales specialist side, a further 668 years. And in terms of what the design teams can do, spread across those same 5 continents, 613 years of collective experience to date. When we look at it a little bit differently from the perspective of Multitech's full experience in the minerals industry on all products, it's more than 3,500 years currently. The way Multitech defines fines, in terms of the mining industry, we look at it all -2 millimeter. However, please note that in other industries, this does differ, particularly in the silicate glass industry and in the aggregates. Also on some continents it differs, because in Australia, for example, they look at the -1 millimeter as fines, and in some other places they look at the -0.5 millimeter as fines. For our purposes, we define ultrafines as -75 microns. However, we'll be not looking at that today. When one considers fines, the key aspect of fines is the moisture content in those fines. And in the lower moisture percentage ranges, there are 2 areas that really present some challenges, particularly from a pegging and blinding point of view. And from a mining perspective, when we look at it, it's the 8 to sort of 12-16% area. In the aggregates area, they have a broader range of between 2 and 18%. It does vary from in other industries as well. On the top side, when you look at very high moisture contents of 80% and above, that's where you get the chance of overwash. This is that is another area to be very careful of when you look at your screening capability and capacities. The actual types of fine screening applications, of course, you've got your classic classification, which is the separation of undersize to oversize, your de-sliming applications, your heavy media recovery, which is a critical cost area, your dewatering applications, obviously for the reduction and reclamation of water, your self-driven trommel area, which Francois also alluded to, and your trash removal area for sands and organics, etc. One of the key areas of fine screening is obviously the dense medium circuitry and the de-sliming that occurs before it. In terms of de-sliming, this is the removal of most coal mines of the 0.5 millimeter for downstream processes. That efficient removal is absolutely critical. In terms of the drain and rinse screens, the recovery of the medium, whether it be ferrosilicon or magnetite, is absolutely crucial. When one considers drain and rinse, there are key aspects that need to be considered at all times. Drainage capacity is determined by a combination of panel characteristics, the design thereof, and feed material. There are at least 8 key influencing parameters screening efficiency-wise, which include the particle size distribution, the particle density, the average particle shape, the open area, the screening material used in the design, and of course the overall design of the panel in terms of its dam widths and perforated thicknesses. Screening requirements vary depending on media characteristics and commodity application. For example, coal will be totally different to what you do in manganese or in diamondiferous applications. Panel choice and design is absolutely crucial, because media losses can be adversely affected by poor panel selection and, interestingly enough, poor maintenance thereof on the panel media itself. As an example, Multitech did a study a couple of years ago where we did the full maintenance and proper design of all panel media and reduced the actual FeSi consumption from 130 grams per ton to 80 grams per ton. At that time, it was a 2.5 million per annum rand saving. In today's terms, that's over 5 million rands worth of savings annually. The other critical application, of course, is dewatering, it being both the recovery of water itself and ensuring that there's not too much water in the material for transportation purposes via the conveyors, etc., in the processes. What we see here in front of you is an example of a typical linear motion backslope dewatering screen, which has a high frequency, low amplitude unit. It has a pool area. Obviously the idea is to build the bed depth, and as Francois indicated as well, the ideal discharge bed depth is 100 millimeters. However, in iron ore we've seen applications where it's more than 300 millimeters deep. Here we have an animation of how a dewatering screen application actually operates. One of our first key innovations being done over the last few years is the development of the TP panel, where we basically increase the open area by at least 50%. The feed onto a dewatering screen normally comes in at about 25 to 30% by moisture, and obviously what you're after is a discharge somewhere between 15 and 20%, so it's conveyable thereafter. The critical thing to do is to get the bed to form outside of the pool area. Also, another critical aspect is to ensure that you have that open area to do the dewatering in the actual feed area. The TP panel also allows for breakage in the actual bed depth to allow the moisture that's on the surface to be conveyed then to the underneath of the screen where it needs to be. Some examples of the fine screening panel types that we use globally for different applications. In coal, you'll see here the 2x2s and 1x1s and 2x1 poly wedge panels. These are modular by design to reduce costs, but it also makes the panel smaller, and from a safety aspect that's obviously a lot better. These poly wedge panels are used for on all the applications in coal, being specifically dewatering, desliming, drain and rinse, and of course classification. The relationship between the head width and the actual perforated thickness and the aperture is critical to ensure maximized open area. Here are some of the examples of our injection molded polyurethane fine screening panels that we do, and of course these can be used in coal, iron ore, heavy minerals, base metals. We have light, medium and heavy duty designs, and it's very interesting. Multitech has more than 3,730 odd designs of apertures that are less than 2 millimeter. Obviously these are all used again in the same applications of dewatering, desliming and classification and drain and rinse. Here are a couple of other examples of special panels that are manufactured by Multitech. The snorkel panel, it's designed to remove and ensure that surface moisture is actually returned to the bed and then taken out, and a chimney panel which is specific for where they use, they're not using high frequency, low amplitude, but rather the other way around, it's high amplitude and low frequency machines, and you get a thumping action and a entrapment, and the chimney actually allows breathing through to the top of the screening surface, so you stop the actual compression that's created by the air. This animation shows one of our recent developments as well by Multitech, which is the wear indicator. As the panel wears down, so an indicator of one dot appears in a specific area, then the second dot as it wears down further, and the third and the fourth, and so forth. Around about the third and fourth is when you need to replace the panel. Obviously this is very good from a maintenance aspect. It's very easy for visual inspection. You prevent production losses, and of course you improve your stock management. The importance of deck maps. There are three main areas in screening. Obviously it's your impact area, where the screening takes place, but you've got to cater for that impact. There's a distribution and screening area then that follows that, and then the actual main screening surface where it's only full-on screening done. And then of course there's the discharge area. These areas all need different designs, and it's crucial to understand that when you optimize and maximize the efficiency of the screening right across the full deck. In terms of the process examples, this is a very nice photograph of a dewatering application operating really well. You can see the pool area at the back. The discharge is pretty dry. Is an iron ore example done in Brazil. Here we also have a video of an iron ore, which is quite interesting, where you're doing classification and dewatering simultaneously. And the dewatering takes place at the back of the screen, and the classification and accurate sizing towards the discharge side of the screen. Just by way of showing some of the challenges that we come across in Multitech, this is an iron ore clay ball issue. The only way to deal with this is to put spray water on, or to use special disagglomeration techniques that Multitech has developed over the past couple of years. Okay, last but not least, Multitech's global capability. We alluded to this in the beginning of the presentation. We are, as we say, spread in 6 key areas: China itself, Australia, Africa, with subsidiaries in Africa, Santiago in Chile, Belo Horizonte in Brazil, and Montreal in Canada. We also have a sister company in Lexington in the USA. This allows us to provide the necessary solutions capability in these territories, to support our production of our products and the logistics thereof, to ensure that the necessary service backup is in place, and which then allows us to respond to any customer inquiry within 24 hours. When we named this presentation Tricks of the Trade in the beginning, what we were actually talking about was how we collate all of our experiences and observations through countless site visits around the world, and then transfer this into cost-benefit solutions to our customers in the form of products that allows our customers to sleep easily at night. Thank you very much.